capital expenditure in private sector. Because of the demand, enhanced demand for the goods produced and services of the private sector, there is a lot of demand for improvement of capabilities of these private sector undertakings, which requires the more and more capital investments, means capex expenditure for expansion and for upgrading their services, upgrading the quality of their goods, upgrading the productivity, profitability and cost reduction, and way to reduce the damage, wastage, loss of quality, quantity and time consumed. All these are leading, all these requirements are demanding the highest, the more and more capital expenditure by private sector companies. Thus, as in the case of the public sector undertakings and the central government of India, spending more and more, means more than 30% of its expenditure in capital expenditure, like in infrastructure development as well as expansion of projects and establishing of new projects. And all these are showing the highest contribution of capital, highest requirement of capital expenditure and contribution by Indian and domestic foreign investors. In the same way, private sector also showing the importance for capital enhancement of capital expenditure for increasing its capabilities, efficiency, productivity, and this is the reason the capital expenditure of private sector is also improving year by year. Even though there are some disturbances in the global scenario, maybe Russia-Ukraine war or Iran or Israel and Gaza wars, then even then the Indian corporate sector is showing better performance and increasing the demand for its consumers, its products, as well as increasing the demand for capital expenditure. Because of strong domestic growth opportunities in India, there is a increasing demand for investments through capital expenditure for all corporate sector, private sector corporate entities as well as public sector corporate entities. As a result, private sector sanctions by banks for capex expenditure means the banks have sanctioned around 352,000 projects in private sector by sanctioning at least around 2 crores per project to increase the capital expenditure in the private sector. The capex of 118 companies, top 150 by revenue, excluding financial firms, crossed the $80 billion for the first time in the financial year 23, displaying the confidence of long-term growth. Because of confidence of long-term growth, the private sector investment in capital expenditure of at least 118 companies is to the extent of $80 billion during the current financial year 23-24. Also, the capital expenditure are funded by banks, financial institutions, initial public offers, external commercial borrowings, foreign contributed commercial borrowings, RDBs, IPVs of 23-23, times the past 5-year average. Means all these capital contributions more compared to last 5 years average. The capex tracker index of institutional research Sparks show a reading of 342 in 2023, the highest in more than 12 years. The index has been consistently rising since December 2020 when it hit a low of 147. It means the capex index has increased 147 in 2020. Now it is improved to 342 in 2023. Means the improvement in index of capital expenditure shows the enhanced investment by Indian corporate sector, especially private sector as well as public sector undertakings. This resulted into increase in capital investment, resulted into fast economic development, employment generation, wealth creation, waste reduction, highest productivity, higher profitability, and more gains to the entrepreneurs as well as investors, and also higher revenue collections for the governments because of the better performance by these corporate entities in private sector as well as public sector and government sectors.